Gornus sanders. Only one specimen of Pelagornis sanders has ever been found, but based on its fossil, it was the second largest bird to have ever lived. With a wingspan of up to 24 feet, it was twice the size of the largest birds that are around today. But there is a lot that researchers are yet to understand about this species. They lived during the Oligocene period around 25 million years ago, and appear to have weighed as much as 80 pounds. Which means it's not entirely clear how they were able to fly, because this would make them too heavy to lift into the air under our current understanding of the way flight in nature works. They had what are known as pseudo-teeth on their bills, which are particularly effective at piercing and holding onto slippery prey, so most likely lived on a diet made up of entirely fish. Pelagornis sanders would have been an awesome creature to see in flight, and undoubtedly ruled the skies. Quite why they died out, and why no birds of this size are alive today, is not yet clear, but it's hoped future discoveries of the species may help to understand the mystery. Number Asdarchidae. During the Cretaceous period between 140 and 70 million years ago, Asdarchidae were a type of pterosaur, and some of them were the largest known flying creatures of all time. The name has its roots in the Persian word of Asdar, which was a legendary dragon-like creature, and they were probably the closest nature has ever come to a true menace of the skies. They had very long legs, and necks had large heads and jaws like spears. It's quite possible they could use these to pierce the skin or armor of their prey, and then transport it to their nest where they could take more time to devour it. Due to their size, they probably didn't spend much time in the air and are thought to have lived lives more similarly to the way storks and hornbills do today. In other words, standing on the ground and using their powerful eyesight to scour the surroundings for their next potential meal. Most would have eaten small dinosaurs and recently hatched young, but the larger species of Asdarchidae would have been one of the dominant predators and taken anything but the largest of land animals. The biggest ones had wingspans of up to 66 feet and would have dwarfed most other dinosaurs across modern-day Romania and Germany, where their remains have been found. Now, Pterodactylus antiquus. With a name that means winged finger, the Pterodactylus antiquus may not immediately strike fear into your mind. And even though they were fairly small pterosaurs, they would have been a force to reckon with in large groups. They lived during the late Jurassic period around 150 million years ago, and their fossils have been found in Germany, elsewhere in Europe, and in Africa. Their 90 sharp teeth, perfect for tearing flesh, show that they were carnivores, and it's believed they preyed mainly on fish and small animals. There's evidence to suggest that in times of need, however, they would group up in flocks and take on much larger dinosaurs. With some remnants of bigger specimens have been found with Pterodactylus antiquus beak marks in their bones. They had a wingspan of between 3 and 4 feet and claws on their feet that were several inches long. There was a crest on their beaks made from soft tissue that probably served as a function in mating rituals, and unusually it's thought that they could be nocturnal or diurnal depending on Pteranodon longiceps. The Pteranodon longiceps was, for many decades, the largest known species of pterosaur after being first discovered in 1871 in Kansas. They had a wingspan of a whopping 20 feet and had a backward-pointing crest that formed the basis of what we usually think a flying dinosaur looks like. They lived around 85 million years ago when the central US was covered in water. Pteranodon longiceps is thought to have spent the vast majority of their lives flying over the water in search of fish and other potential food, and rarely ever went back to land apart from the breed. When they needed a break or wanted to eat whilst not airborne, they would have landed on the water and floated on the current until it was time to fly again. This maneuver probably wasn't the easiest of things, and simulations suggest they would have had to hop and splash about for a few moments until they were able to generate enough lift. While they didn't have any teeth, they certainly had a mean attitude and would harass larger animals by flying around them and violently flapping their wings. They're the perfect example of how it wasn't just the mouths of the dinosaurs you had to watch out for, because many had other features that were just as dangerous. Dimorphodon macronix. The Dimorphodon macronix was a species of pterosaur that lived across what is now Europe, and virtually all specimens of this species have been found in the so-called Jurassic coast of the UK. Their name means two-formed tooth, which is in reference to the fact that they had two distinctly different types of teeth in their mouths, ones that were designed to tear flesh and others that were designed to grab tightly onto prey. They were fairly primitive, with only a small cavity for their brains, and would have stood about 3 feet with a 4.6-foot wingspan. Very little is known about their diet, but based on their physiology, they most likely fed on fish and other aquatic animals, as well as small land animals too. It's also thought that they may have been pack hunters and would work together to hunt larger prey that could feed them and their young. Despite the way they look, they probably weren't very good at flying because of their large heads and large bodies in proportion to their wings. They wouldn't have been able to glide and probably only flew for short periods of time, or as quick means of escape if danger was close by.